welcome to Maximize Your Potential. I'm Brian Sexton, joined today by Scott Quinn, the founder of EVOS Health. Scott, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Brian?
It's good to see you. You gonna leave me hanging here?
Yes. No, I'm sorry.
Come on. I knew you wouldn't. We've had a great conversation just getting started here.
Absolutely.
Just to put it into a nutshell, EVOS Health, you take complex issues and make them simple.
Yeah.
Is that the best way to put it?
Absolutely. I think you could say that. I come from a very entrepreneurial family.
Okay.
And I've spent the last 17 or so years in healthcare here in Northeast Florida, working with some of the largest, most renowned private brands here, including Borland Groover, Southeast Ortho, Coastal, etc. And, I've been leveraging my experience working with groups like that for the last 17 years. Now, for the last couple years, I've been working as a consultant with my own company, EVOS Health, where I apply a lot of the principles and disciplines that a lot of these large groups utilize to get where they've gotten. It's not a secret on how they've gotten there. It's no secret sauce per se, but it is a discipline and focus you have to apply, I think, on a day-to-day basis and really set trajectories over the course of each year to understand what's important and how to get there.
So what's the biggest challenge that you help them face? In other words, what's one that it seems like all these physician groups face, and how do you help them?
I think the biggest challenge in today's day and age is just it goes to our cell phone. It goes to that ADD mentality. We get so, consumed by the minutia that we lose perspective on the bigger picture. In the bigger picture, there's certain low-hanging fruit that we absolutely have to focus on.
Right.
In order to continue the trajectory of moving your company forward. Things like contract negotiation. A lot of organizations I work with that I come into, they do have not updated contracts. They've not went back to the Blue Cross Blue Shields of the world and try to sit down and have that heart-to-heart conversation on where their volumes are, what's important, what really matters to them. And these contracts oftentimes aren't built to account for inflationary measures. So when you go and you see McDonald's hamburger going up in price, you just go to that same physician offices, not the hospitals, but you go to the physician offices, you'll often find that the reimbursement level, if you look at your EOB, remains the same. And it's probably the same as it was 3, 4, 5, even 10 years ago in some cases. That's a problem.
Yeah, and that's got to be solved for sure.
Yeah.
You have a long history in healthcare.
I do.
And it's entrepreneurial. How did you navigate that road? Because as you just said, it's one of the most complex businesses in the entire nation.
It is. It's not something that I sought out. I actually started with Jack Groover of Borland Groover, a private equity group called South Point Capital. We didn't exist very long because unbeknownst to us, when we started it, about 6 months later, the recession hit. I didn't have a background in healthcare, but we had done all of the organization. We had put our feet in the water on a few different investment opportunities, and we basically put ice on everything. And at that juncture, he really gave me two options on behalf of the board. He said, you've got a lot of background with these little, I call it micro, entities that I've started here and there, just being young and persistent. And then, but he said, I'll give you a severance. You can go on your way, continue to do what you do. Or he said, I'd like you to come and join my company. He said, I know you don't have a background in healthcare, but I'll teach you everything I know. And I really, kind of came up underneath the wing of Jack or Dr. Groover and learned by the best, arguably. And, from that day, that set me on a trajectory. I started doing business development for him. I started doing financial analytics. It was really a hybrid because I was going around to groups across the state of Florida looking at merger acquisition opportunities to grow the Borland Groover footprint. And one thing I learned very quick is these smaller groups and physicians as a whole really have a hard time understanding how to take their efforts and turn it into revenue and what that path looks like. And so I rolled up my sleeves, dug in, and learned it, every step of the way, and started a medical billing company at that time. So I did that, and I operated Iatros Healthcare Solutions for about 3 years and sold it to a company over in India. And shortly after that, joined Heekin, which is now Southeast Ortho.
You have covered, just in that answer, such a broad spectrum of the healthcare world. How did you how did you find success with EVOS? Was it a matter of the culmination of all of your years of learning and taking good notes? Was it the relationships that you built, or some combination? When you look at where you're at today and how you got there, what would you point to?
It was all of the above.
Okay.
I would tell you that you can't get into this business, and if you think you're an expert at it at any stage, you're a fool. You have to be a student at all times. The evolution of healthcare as we know it, especially nowadays with AI, it's you can't sleep without dreaming about it.
We could do a whole show just on AI
100%.
and not stop for hours.
Absolutely.
Which we've already found you and I can do.
Yeah.
That is no issue at all.
Not at all.
So do you have a daily routine? Is there something that you do that is consistent that helps you maintain your level of performance?
There are measured steps throughout the course of the day, and it's not so much that I attribute those to my success and or there's a direct correlation. I don't want to downplay that. For me, you have to balance. I have three children.
Yeah.
And you have to find that balance and ensuring that you're splitting up your time adequately and you're doing it in a fair manner. I hate to be the father that's just stuck to my phone while my kids are thriving for attention and what have you. So I think for me, it's getting up early before they get up. And at that juncture, it's quiet.
Yeah.
It allows me to really hone in, review emails. Because, emails another undertaking. Emails, we're so immersed. I mean, most of us have 3, 4, 10 email accounts that we're trying to pay attention to, depending on the volume of businesses you have and or, what all you're involved in. And that can consume you. So what I do is I try to structure my time in increments so that I can focus on what's important, what's in front of me at the moment, and then move on to the next task, which may have nothing to do with it. And I try to shut that energy off and channel it back to what's important.
See, without that, there's no way you could maximize your potential. There's no way without that balance, that time, that sacrifice that you make in your sleep pattern to get where you want to go.
Absolutely.
How about a piece of advice for a young entrepreneur? Is there one book or one podcast or one idea that you could share?
There's a tremendous amount of them. I honestly, I like to go back to, some of the basic core books that generations have read, that really come down to just how you treat people. Yeah. And, fundamentally what's important. I do think that there are, McCovey and some of these other authors have with the steps and best practices that you can follow. There's increments of those that are very important and useful. But I honestly think Andrew Carnegie and some of these, these books that have sustained decades, the core principles in them.
A reason why they do.
Carry a lot. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for your insight. I hope you'll come back.
Yeah,
You've got a lot to share.
Will do.
We could barely scratch the surface here.
We could, yeah.
Scott will be back with us another time. We appreciate him joining us and you as well here on Maximize Your Potential.